About 400,000 foreigners visited Korea last year for medical treatment, and we call this medical tourism. And why is Korea so popular for this? And what can we do to improve upon it? That's what we want to discuss right here in this program, Upfront.
Increasing number of foreigners have visited Korea for medical treatment. A lot of Chinese visitors have come to Korea as Korean wave like K-pop and plastic surgery in Korea have been very popular among Chinese people. However, increasing number of visitors from other countries have also shown great interests in Korea's advanced medical technologies as well as services. Hus Hidink, the legendary soccer coach who led the Korean national team, received a knee surgery in Korea, and it made a lot of headlines. He was suffering from severe arthritis for about a decade and expressed his satisfaction with the result of his surgery in Korea.
We'll see what will happen, and I have full confidence in the doctors here. I know them from the past, so they will give an examination, and after that we'll see what will happen.
Also, increasing number of renowned figures from overseas countries, including Armenian president who received a luxurious medical treatment in a hospital in Gangnam, Indonesian minister who had a back surgery, and the First Lady of Kyrgyzstan who got anti-aging treatment have visited Korea. The number of foreign patients in Korea have continuously grown for the past 5 years, and in 2015, almost 300,000 foreign visitors came to Korea for medical treatment. 3 out of 10 foreign patients are Chinese, but growing number of visitors from other countries like the Middle East, Central Asia, and Russia have also visited Korea. Last year, Seoul Metropolitan Government invited Russian buyers from the medical tourism industry to better promote Korea's advanced medical services.
Во-первых, очень приятно оказаться в Корее и самому узнать о тех клиниках, которые находятся здесь, инфраструктуре и о том, как организован процесс приема иностранных пациентов.
Medical tourism industry in Korea has been growing continuously. Can it be led to a new phase of the Korean wave by creating added value and boosting the image of the country as well? Upfront discusses the current status of Korea's medical tourism industry and ways to enhance the industry's competitiveness in the global market.
For our discussion today, we have 2 prominent guests here. On my left side, Dr. John Linton, also known as Dr. Ik-geun. He is Director of International Healthcare Center at Sebrans Hospital. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Professor Ik-geun, he is a Professor of Tourism Management at Keimyung University. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, very interesting topic we are dealing with today. Dr. Linton, first of all, at your job, basically, right? You are actually in charge of dealing with this large number of patients coming from overseas, I suppose. What do you see? Can you share with us your observation about how the overall market is changing, how things are changing and stuff at your job front?
Well, when I came 26 years ago, a lot of foreigners, if they had life-threatening diseases, would actually leave Korea.
Right.
So we've seen a huge reversal. 99% now are staying or coming in from countries around Korea. I think it has to do with, in short, with the very high skill of the Korean doctor and, frankly, a lot of state-of-the-art equipment. So the ability to use this equipment and the skill of the Korean doctor is causing, or is what's behind the medical boom.
So international patients seeking better quality service,
right,
and medical treatment. That's
and there are
seeing.
2 types of patients. One is here for non-life-threatening, like plastic surgery,
cosmetic surgery,
and the other group is here because they have cancer or cardiovascular disease or something that is life-threatening.
Okay.
So we'll get into more details.
Right.
About
Let's
that.
talk about those 2 different categories. And on the tourism management front, Professor how big is this medical tourism here in Korea, as you observe from academia here?
So annually there are about 400,000
Last year
medical
estimate.
tourists
Right.
came to Korea, and it will grow more and more. And also tourism industry, a lot of tourism industry, lodging industry or hotel, restaurant or travel agency, they are really interested in attracting more medical tourists because usually the medical tourists, they stay longer than general tourists.
I see. So
And,
their
spend
spending is
more.
greater. Okay. Higher.
And after care, also they revisit Korea. That really benefit Korean tourism industry.
Korea's strength, Dr. Linton, in terms of one of the global hubs for attracting these foreign patients, you said higher quality medical service. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more to share better ideas with our viewers?
Absolutely. For example, at my hospital, we have robotic surgery.
Okay.
Robotic surgery we invested in very early, more than 15 years ago. And we've done over 20,000 cases, which the biggest centers in the US have done less than 5,000. So we're way out in front. Well, what is robotic surgery? Perhaps a little explanation is necessary. It's not a robot doing the surgery. It's a human pushing some levers, and the patient is next to him, but actually he can be in a different room, but it's a human being doing the surgery through a machine. And there's much less blood loss. Its recovery is faster. If you have a thyroid tumor, for example, for the
It's
ladies,
less invasive.
you can go through the axilla, through the armpit, and through the skin, and have no scar.
Right, rather than cut it open right here.
Right.
Okay.
If you have prostate cancer and you're a man, it's
Through
a
the
little hard to
vessels?
talk about, but the function of a male will come back much more likely
Okay.
with robotic surgery, and you can be on the golf course in 3 days after surgery.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a huge advantage. It's expensive, but I think patients now, the wealthier patients in the world, are looking for less invasive, less suffering,
right.
and best results.
But I have some question about your remark. When we have the robotic surgery is popular and very efficient, do you think there are some competitive countries such as Thailand or India have such machines? So
They-
it could be
Korea more of the
compatible with
leader?
Korea?
For example, our hospital has 6, which is unheard of.
Six what? Six.
6 robots.
Okay.
So 6 Da Vinci is what they're called.
Are these robots? Are they able to undertake any kind of surgery depending on the command and then system you put in, or I just wonder, like optical surgery, cardiovascular surgery. I wonder there are different dedicated machines.
They can do cardiovascular. They can do brain. They can, in other words,
One
they can do
machine can
yes,
actually, depending
they
on the program and everything.
They can just put in the different, shall we say, parts.
Right.
But this is a point I want to bring out that nobody, in the States, when they do, in the US, United States, when they do one surgery, the turnaround time is over 10 hours, it's 12 hours.
Okay.
So it's not just the surgery, it's also the skill of the Korean nurse. Because our robots, when we do one surgery, the turnaround time is 4 hours.
I see.
So it's 1/3. Because the machine is so expensive, you have to use it a lot to get the cost down.
Exactly, right.
So we're very, very efficient. So it's not, I want to point out that it's not just the doctor who's very brilliant and smart, but it's the whole team
Right.
behind that's supporting him.
Sort of like a Korean manufacturing excellence.
Exactly.
That we've known for
exactly.
decades. Operations.
It's similar
of the
to LG and Samsung pushing Sony out of the television market.
Right, and the Hyundai, Kia, driving
Exactly.
Toyota and so on. Okay. Professor Oh, in the bigger picture, overall, what do we know in terms of the overall satisfaction level of these patients who are getting this, in terms of maybe their ratio of return, perhaps, for those people who get lighter, cosmetic surgeries and so on? What do you see? Do we have any measurement in terms of measuring the level of satisfaction?
Yes. In the year of 2012, there's some survey done by Korea tourism organizations. The survey about the satisfaction level of overseas medical patient.
Right.
The satisfaction level is very high, especially among Russians, Mongolians, and Americans, but relatively less low for Chinese and the Japanese. And the return rate, I don't know, could be over than 20%.
Okay.
I'm not really sure about it.
Right.
Maybe Dr. In, he's know more than I do.
I guess the return ratio really depends on case by case, right? If you get like a serious cardiovascular surgery, less likely you will come back. If you get eyelid surgery, probably you'll come back for other kinds of stuff, right?
Absolutely. And if you have some serious disease case, they have to check up
Right.
and visit again after healthcare, after surgery. So it will benefit travel industry because
Right.
when they come to Korea first time, maybe they may have any room to travel around or to go shopping or to go to movies, kind of things.
right.
But second time, third time, when they come into Korea for their checkup, probably they want to take advantage of these opportunities to look around Korea and experience some Korean life.
Talking about that point, Professor O, added value on this medical tourism, what do you actually see tourists after? I mean, once again, it's case by case, but what do they do when they're checked into a hospital and get a light cosmetic surgery, for instance? After that, they have to recover, right?
Yeah.
Before they leave the country.
Sure.
So during that time, what do they do?
Well, they do some travel-related activities, such as shopping, going to movie, and
Dining.
some dining out, and even outdoor recreation activities. So many tourism products and services could involve in medical tourism.
The Korean doctors' ability, the plastic surgery is probably the best in the world. And that's purely hand skill.
I see.
That's not fancy gadgetry or machines. So in the outside market, I'm in a university hospital, but in the outside market or in Busan around the hotels,
Right.
is getting a quick eye or a nose,
Right.
to increase. And actually the doctor will show you pictures of
Celebrity?
good-looking people and say, you want to look like this. So this is highly, highly competitive and very, very artistically well done. But again, it comes back to the skill. It's a difficult term, but we call it the manual dexterity.
Manual dexterity.
The 손재주
손재주,
of
right.
the Korean doctor. And it is supreme. Dentistry is also another field that is, implants. A Korean dentist will do anything to save a tooth rather than pull it. Or now, or if he does have an empty spaces, put in an implant. So I think there's so many options. And you see more regular tourism. For example, Abu Dhabi, the government pays the bills and their family members here. And if their loved one is getting cancer treatment, is getting chemotherapy, then there's a lot of time lag. The immigration of Korea, the 출입국, has given us short-term visa, long-term visa. They're very flexible. You can bring family member. Sometimes even they allow helpers to come,
Right.
hired helpers.
Right, right.
So
it's a bigger package we're talking about.
it is much easier. And I want to make one point that from the Middle East countries, a lot of times it's hard to get a visa into Europe or America, but much easier to come to Korea.
So it's not only doctors, but also nurses, whole team in the hospital, but also outside, government, immigration office, and then other service industry have to all come together as one package.
Agencies also.
Right, agencies as well. So Korea has that kind of system as a whole that's improving fast enough, would you say?
I think so.
Okay.
Initially, the market was a little bit confused.
That's what I thought a few years ago.
And there are those that are there are some abuses in the system, but slowly I see it's much, much less confusing now
Okay.
than 5 or 10 years ago. It's sorting itself out.
I have the data telling me that like patients from other countries like Middle East, Arab Emirate, for instance,
UAE,
UAE, they're spending about 15 million per person for medical visits, or per patient, 15 million won per person, while Chinese, they spend about 2 million. There's a big difference here. Do you have some information or observation about what's happening non-Chinese, other patients coming from much more wealthier countries and so on? What do you see there?
Well, because of geographic proximity to Korea, maybe within 2 or 3 hours of by air, a lot of rich people, they come to Korea.
I see.
So they spend more time, as Dr. In mentioned, that we have a serious disease or serious patient coming to Korea.
Right.
They stay more, they spend more, and in that case, 1 or 2 persons accompanied. So they also is a good market
I
for
see.
travel industry.
There's some distinguishing factors about the Chinese patients. First of
Okay.
all, there's a big population of Chinese Koreans in Korea. So a very large percentage, maybe half of them, have Korean national insurance.
Ah, okay.
So the statistics get a little bit skewed because they're foreigners, but they're really under the Korean healthcare system.
So they're not captured as foreign visitors, or they're not? What do you say?
Well, it depends on whose statistics you use.
I
So
see.
you must be careful. The other thing is intrinsically the Chinese patient is not as progressive, is very conservative. So
in terms of the way they spend money?
if they have
Or
a
getting the
eye
treatment.
or nose
Right.
surgery, to cosmetic surgery, they're they're very willing to do it. But life-threatening patient
Right.
diseases, cancer, patients like that, are much less.
I see.
You would think that we would have a huge majority
Yeah.
because China is so close, the population is so big. But I think there's something in the Chinese patient mentality where they're more, if they get a very life-threatening disease, they're more apt to stay at home.
I see. Unlike Russians, unlike other people from Middle East.
Arabs, unlike Russians, the leap of faith
Interesting.
is different. And we've got to, in the future, have a strategy for this to make them more confident of our care.
Right.
I don't think it's just going to happen. I think we're going to have to involve Chinese intermediaries to reassure them
Right.
that if they come here, they can get much better care. They will choose inferior, this sounds bad, but I must say it to make it very clear. They will choose inferior care in their home country above much more modern care in Korea just because they're more comfortable with being at home.
Right.
know.
They're more certain about the variables and stuff when it comes to life-threatening.
Even if they have the finances.
So it's a cultural difference in a way.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And Japan's an interesting, because Japan started, for example, robotic surgeries late. Their system didn't bring it in very quickly. So Japan doesn't send so many patients here. They have a very comprehensive social national insurance program.
Right.
But they send a lot of professors to learn skills.
So
this
learning
is-
from Korea.
Yes, this is very
Interesting.
interesting.
Oh,
We have a lot of Japanese doctors that come to learn robotic surgery in Korea.
Quite interesting. Okay. In terms of areas, Dr. Linton, we have discussed cosmetic surgery, perhaps oncology patients, and the cardiovascular patients, and so on. Any other areas that's up and rising fast in terms of in relation to the tourism, medical tourism, perhaps? Any other areas? Those are the main.
Those are the main things, actually. A human being now with a long lifespan, either there's a big chance that if you live a long time, you will get some type of cancer or you will have some type of cardiovascular or vessel disease.
Right.
So those are mainstay. But there are also genetic diseases. And one interesting thing is, for example, we take Abu Dhabi patients who have seizures and we correct the seizures by surgery.
Okay.
So the brain is mapped, all the electricity of the brain, and then a surgeon, a neurosurgeon operates to
Right.
stop people that keep having uncontrollable seizures on medicine that doesn't work.
Interesting.
We do surgery to correct it. And that kind of real specific field. In Parkinson, we have a doctor who puts implants in the brain so that people can hardly walk or are going on the golf course.
Right, right.
So really specific high-tech items.
And looks like what's common here is, Dr. Linton, most of them are related with surgery, kind of invasive techniques rather than medication, I suppose. There is a difference, right? Action taken when patient comes, right?
Well, for cancer patients, it's not altogether true.
Okay.
For,
Not necessarily all surgeries.
but solid tumors have to be taken out,
Right.
and then there's a long chemotherapy process. A lot of like tailor-designed chemotherapy now
Right.
for lung cancer
I see.
is going on also. Experimental treatment. Korea is able to do some of this with cooperation with the government and get new drugs approved faster, life-saving drugs.
Okay, okay.
So that's also another specific field.
Right. Well, Professor, let's talk about the big picture here. We are talking about tourism industry per se, and then within that we're talking about medical tourism. Why is medical tourism more important than other tourism areas, if we believe that? What are possible explanation about why medical tourism matters more, perhaps?
As I mentioned before, those medical tourists, they stay longer, spend more, and also they bring some of the persons with themselves. So it brings a lot of economic benefit to Korea. Also, they spend some money in travel industry, like food, transport, or even the recreation activities. So it brings up more money in Korea in the circulating those money domestically. So we can expect there's a lot of economic impact from the medical tourism industry, and also it's a prospective market in terms of travel industry. And Korean medical skill or technology has been advanced, is enough to be competitive with Thailand or India. And if we do more promotions to the overseas countries, we could bring more medical tourists. Also, it will benefit Korean travel industry.
Keeping in mind those importance of medical tourism, and since you mentioned Thailand, let's compare the numbers here. Thailand is Asia's #1 in terms of medical tourism, and the number that they attracted within a year was 2.5 million people a year, while Korea, as I mentioned, is 400,000. So there's a big difference. How do you explain the Thai excellence or Thai competitiveness in medical tourism? Why is Thailand doing so well?
First of all, the price is much cheaper compared with Korea or Singapore or some other country, except India. And also they put some relaxation, like a wellness program to the medical surgery. So people, they think about Thailand, they imagine the exotic place.
Yeah, sure.
And they put some medical tourism plus vacation kind of concept. The medical tourist could have such a concept. So it's more competitive in terms of medical technology coupled with travel attractions.
I see. So overall whole package, Thailand being known as kind of like a well-known vacation place.
Sure.
Korea has not been as much, right? Korea is more like traditional sightseeing and all these different areas, but Thailand is a vacation place, so they could bring perhaps more larger family members together when a patient travels, perhaps. So that explains a larger number of people visiting the Thailand as a whole. Do you know any medical side of competitiveness?
Well, they
of Thailand?
started very early. In the early 90s, they got Joint Commission approval, JCI, which is an international standard. They also, they very strategically built hospitals and brought doctors back, Thai doctors that were working in
From
Canada.
overseas?
From overseas. It was well planned. But I would, the greatest, from a point of view of managing foreign patients, they pay about a third to a fifth of the cost, for example, of a nurse.
I see.
So the labor
Price
costs
again.
are like one third. So on the lower end, are they competitive? Definitely. Very
So
competitive.
what kind of medical areas are we talking about? Are we talking about oncology, cardiovascular,
No, we're
which are
talking
tough ones, or are they talking more
mostly
about
cosmetic.
cosmetics? Okay.
And they do some, oncology and some cardiology and that also. But they have, the volume is lower end.
I
It's
see.
much cheaper. And I don't think it's, we should worry too much.
It's a different
It's a different culture, different style. I ask myself, is there something, deficient of
That is
of
the question, right.
Korean doctors? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Korean doctors are probably more excellent than Thai doctors. But we are at the higher end of the market, the more specialized in procedures or surgeries. That is where I think the future of Korea is. And one other thing, very early, I want to point out is that we have national stars among doctors,
Right,
if you will,
right.
within Korea.
Sure, sure.
But we've really failed in promoting international stars. So the Hallyu, the wave, what do you call it? The
Korea wave.
Korea wave,
Yeah.
the Hallyu wave in medicine has yet to come. So we should concentrate in promoting. We're not very good at promoting ourselves. Medicine. What is medicine? In Confucian, medicine is very humble.
Right, right.
You shouldn't make money.
Exactly.
But this is an industry, and this is an
You're
industry.
not allowed to make profits
That's
in
right.
Korea, right?
It's somehow immoral to do that.
Exactly, exactly. So.
And my line is you can
Right.
make a little money and you can do a lot. And one thing that wasn't mentioned today is if your life has been saved by a Korean doctor and you go home, think about what it does for the image of Korea.
Right.
That
absolutely.
person lifelong will be talking about how great Korea is. So it's a good, there's an esoterical, there's a, something that you can't measure in dollars and cents.
Right, right. So in that sense, Professor Oh, would you agree that Thai's case is not a case that Korea should be consciously follow too much? Rather, Korea should continue on in the direction that we've been keeping, for us, in a way, more higher value added, value creative one, rather than turning to more of the lower cost side of Thai style of medical tourism?
Well, in terms of price, we can
Not
beat
compete,
them.
right, right.
So we have to concentrate on high quality of medical service, as mentioned. And
Anything we
also-
can learn from Thai case though? Are they
Well,
completely different
we
cases?
can
well,
learn
some kind
service.
of medical systems or service or after surgery care, and also communication and understanding their different culture, etc. We should learn that. But if we compete with them with the price,
Right.
there's no answer to it.
I
So
see.
as he mentioned that, robot surgeries and some kind of a specialty or dental clinics or some other places,
Right.
and those services not available at their home.
I see.
A lot of things you can do. Like in Thailand case,
Right.
one patient, international patient, he mentioned that there are so many registered nurses in Thailand hospitals compared to in the United States.
Right, right.
So the person's really satisfied with the RN's service, and also staff speaking English very fluently,
Right.
and it's our first class lodging, like a 5-star hotel,
Right, right,
and
sure.
really excellent food. There are a lot of things to do in Thailand.
So a lot to learn, even though
Sure.
it's a different case. I think the point has been made very clear here. Dr. Linton, moving on to the related topic, that is, I mean, we talked about Thailand as a hosting country, but a country where the travelers are originating from, United States, a country that you know well as Korea, I suppose. I know you understand Korea better, perhaps, but United States, what do we see in terms of U.S. patients coming to Korea, or what we can do to even attract more of them as a one case?
Before Obamacare, you have a country, I did residency in New York, so I know a little bit about it. There are 50 million, the population of Korea has no medical insurance. So America is not very advanced when it comes to health care. There's a lot of politics going on about health care replacement of Obamacare right as we speak. But I view this group of people that don't have insurance within and the high cost of care. I mean, you were saying that Thailand is very cheap. Well, actually, Abu Dhabi patients come to Korea because it's much cheaper than Germany or US.
I see.
So we're competitive on the higher end, and we need to point this out. So on the higher end, where prices, my brother-in-law checked in for a heart arrhythmia overnight, and his insurance paid $10,000 for one night in the hospital. $10,000.
Unbelievable.
So we're talking about prices like that. We're very competitive, and obviously United Arab Emirates recognizes this in turning some of their patients from Germany, from the US to Korea. So I think those people that in the U.S. who do not have health care or supplemented health care, of those 50 million people who want to come over and selectively pay for health care, I think these people are a future market for us.
I see.
Because of the flaw in the U.S. system or the lack of comprehensive care.
Right.
These people are looking at options overseas.
Then would you, yes, please.
Yeah, do you have any good idea to bring in such persons to Korea?
I think advertising.
I see.
Promotion, advertising, and
One idea that I've pushed very much with a tourist organization here, with a corporation, is why don't we have a circuit TV in the hotels in all of Korea? Start with hotel. A medical tourism TV station. And it could self-support because I would buy, for my clinic, would buy advertisements.
Right.
And so you come to Korea and you're sightseeing in Korea and you turn the TV and you suddenly see all this stuff about medical tourism. Oh, they've got these. People don't know that they have. So very simple things. Some things we should do here.
Right.
And then look at all the Korean Americans. And there are a lot of them. We have a tremendous Yonsei alumni.
Right.
And promote, medical. Come to Korea. We will take care of your body, your health, and make you healthier.
We'll elaborate on that.
Good
We'll make
strategy.
it better than those slogans. But yes, letting us know better in the United
We're
States.
not good at promotion.
Okay. What about in terms of U.S. internal dynamics, Obamacare possibly being compromised by Trump administration in coming years, or perhaps starting from this year and so on? Would that affect a little bit in terms of Korea's prospect of attracting more American patients?
Definitely. People are going to be looking. If you have to pay out of your pocket for something, rather than having it covered by insurance, you're going to be looking for options.
Okay. So
And we have people who are flying in. The most encouraging new news is we have people that look into thyroid surgery, prostate surgery, without coming through my international healthcare center. They fly straight in.
I see.
Through the internet, they get information.
They see the doctors in other parts of your hospital.
They see the statistics of the hospital where the cancer survival in 5 years in Korea is higher than the U.S.
Right.
And these are objective,
Sure.
very, very, scientific, cool statistics.
So they look at us when it's necessary, but we should do a better job in terms of attracting them.
Exactly.
Okay, makes perfect sense here. Professor Oh, the medical tourism as a part of tourism, some people say it has a higher risk. It has a lot of uncertainties and this ethical conflict in a way that Dr. Linton mentioned, Korea's view of money versus medical service and stuff. When you see the medical tourism growing in Korea like this, some of us are saying medical tourism in Korea has grown like 5 times in size within last 5-6 years. That's a very fast growth. Any points of concern? Anything you should be worried about when you see this fast growth of medical tourism in this country?
well, if we have more international patient, then we could handle, they could bring some problems. And also, if so many people come to Korea for a medical purpose, we have to prepare to receive them, like a lot of infrastructure, not only some facilities, but
Not only
also
medical centers,
software.
right?
Yeah.
Other places.
Some
right?
educations,
Yeah.
like medical coordinators, medical tourism coordinators, also a lot of education for staffs
Right.
from a hotel or restaurant, and some travel agencies or shopping or some other places. So if we expect such a boom of medical tourism to Korea, we will really appreciate, but we have to prepare.
Demand
Okay.
and supply have to go hand in
To
hand,
meet, yes.
basically. That's what you're saying. In medical practice, Dr. Linton, all these risk factors, patients, perhaps, just let's say it upfront bluntly, losing their lives after coming to Korea and so on. Is Korea well prepared for those handling those kind of risks?
With insurance, we sign, what do you call it, a mitigation or a
Right.
arbitration clauses. It's just, perhaps I should be speaking to the Korean hospitals on this. Be sure to make it under Korean law. The jurisdiction is here. Some of them are demanding that it's Hong Kong law or some third country, or that's not a good idea. The government also is jumping in on this and trying to arbitrate when very few accidents happen, but accidents happen in medicine. I think a greater problem in Korea is, earlier I was saying that we have to learn service from Thailand. The Korean doctor sees about 5 times more patients than the average American doctor.
Okay.
So the volume is a problem, and it's always a challenge in the hospital to
Pushing
create
the limits.
pushing the limits. But at the same time, I want to make it very clear that I don't think the foreign patients, unless we have 10 times more than we have now, are going to be a burden on the Korean system.
You're saying that the capacity, we're not going to run out of capacity anytime soon.
Koreans are unbelievable at building capacity. When they need something,
Okay. When there is a demand, there will be supply.
they'll just create a way to absorb the extra patients. And actually, the biggest misconception
Yeah.
is the poor Korean patients are going to be left out. That's not true.
I heard that, right.
You're going to make, if you are a solid China, even Japan cannot follow this industry. We're way out ahead right now. And it's very comforting. It's not like IT or cars or shipbuilding or steel. It takes a lot of time to follow. So we're in a solid lead right now. And we need to keep this lead going. And this is an industry.
Right.
Now, if you want to do charity work, do charity work. That's fine. But I don't think we should get this confused. And there's tremendous potential in this field.
So this is a business taking care of people.
And if we bring in lots of foreign patients and our infrastructure gets bigger, the Korean poor patient has a lot to gain.
Right.
Like a funny term, like the Robin Hood theory. Because rich people are investing,
Right.
you can help more poor people actually.
Right.
So I think it's a misconception, and I want to make this very clear today,
right.
that the poor Korean patient is going to suffer. That's not going to happen.
Very,
so it
very
sounds
important
like
point.
we need some kind of profit medical organizations. It's legally, it is restricted. currently,
Eventually,
isn't
I
it?
think there's a consensus that Korea has to move forward in that direction.
Our biggest
Question is how
handicap
soon, right?
is we don't have the experience that Hong Kong, Thailand, Singapore have in private insurance.
I
That's
see.
number one. And the second handicap is that if you allow certain fee-profit organization, not
Right.
nonprofit,
Right.
it will actually streamline and make us even more competitive. So I'm a very, very advocate for private insurance and for not just for profit, not just nonprofit.
Dr. Linton, would you agree with the idea that actually, coming up quickly with a proper private insurance system would be much easier than what Korea has achieved building a well-working national medical system. So it's not as much of a challenge. Once we set our mind to it, we can do it, right?
The Korean insurance system is wonderful. We're promoting it in Africa, many countries, Asia. But the government is a safety net. Should go more to be a safety net. We should not depend on government to do everything.
Exactly.
So I think a
Korean
public
mentality.
and a private system need to enhance each other. And the private or the public system that we have is more geared toward the poor person, making sure nobody falls through the cracks.
Right.
And that is the appropriate way. Like in the Netherlands, they have a system, private-public, that works very well.
Right.
And Germany has that system.
So that is one big issue that we need to think about in terms of healthcare policy, which is a very big area for discussion. For coming back to the tourism here, Professor, we talked about Thailand's excellence in terms of service and taking care of people better and stuff. I think we need more elaboration on that. How do we compare like a level of service, making people feel better, more comfortable, more welcome, hospitable, and all that? What do we have to do in Korea to improve our what we call service? It looks very vague to me. What are some of the specifics?
Well, one of strategies we can think out is to add some wellness type of a program.
I see.
Like not only medical surgery, also we put some wellness programs such as yoga or hot springs or massage and something like that. We call it health tourism or wellness tourism. Not medical tourism is not only concerned with the medical part, also wellness, health. So this different type of service could add some values. Thailand, they do it.
Right, broaden the boundary of the service.
Absolutely,
Going
absolutely.
beyond medical tourism, but more of a health, wellness tourism.
Okay.
There's nothing, I don't disagree with that, but I think another possibility is telemedicine.
Telemedicine.
So that when they come
Long
and get
distance?
treatment, they return home. They don't have to come all the way back for follow-up.
I see.
They can get on a Skype
Right.
and see their doctor and take care of, my management of my post-cancer surgery is like
Right,
this.
right.
The surgery went well, but now what do I have to do 2 months later?
Right.
Rather than all flying back to Korea. I think
Sure.
that's a type of service.
I see.
In
By doing so, I can see the tourism industry a little bit compromising on their revenue coming in because people are no longer traveling back here. But on the medical industry side, broadening their patient base in a longer term, right?
Remember, that one patient is going to bring 3 patients.
That's right.
That 3 patient is going to bring 6 or 7 patients.
Okay.
And then those patients will bring 15, 20 patients. So it's really important to give a good impression
I see.
of Korea now.
Broader perspective and longer view. Okay.
That's a good idea.
Right. And Dr. Linton, one follow-up question on what you have discussed already, the legal structure here. It's a long name law, Act for Overseas Medical Services and Attraction for Foreign Patients. It's basically a law for medical tourism here.
Right.
It was enacted June last year. In terms of some of the key points there, and then more importantly, points to improve upon, what do you see?
First of all, I was terrified at the anti-corruption law recently because, we have to selectively help the foreign patients. Fortunately, I had our legal team study it, and because of this law you're mentioning, we can selectively give some preferential treatment to the foreign patient,
I see.
which is above the anti-corruption law.
I see.
Because that was a big worry for me because I thought it was going to be a stumbling block
I see.
for us. Better things that we can do, I think the professor will know much better than me, but I think in the total package, hospitals, we don't know the total needs of the patient. I think the agencies and making people feel at home. There's one hospital in Busan that when the patient arrives at the airport, they go to the airport.
I see. Okay, I heard about that.
And they
Right.
pick up, they say, we're here to take care of you. And the patient feels like a king or an emperor. And wow, they came all the way to the airport
pick me up. All right.
to pick me up.
Uh-huh.
And a nurse or a doctor escorts them to the hospital. Maybe that's a bit dramatic, but as far as taking care of what I'm finding more and more is family members, things that happen outside of the hospital, out of our control, we need to work on more.
Any points on the law, Professor, or have you had a chance to look into the law or examine in terms of as a legal infrastructure to help medical tourism?
Well, the law, I think they passed last year.
Right.
So actually in motion, we have to add some kind of a law, lift up any restriction on promotion. I don't know if still the promotion is restricted by government or not.
Because the way Koreans see medical service is very different.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a cultural thing.
Right.
Other things.
Right.
And also we think that legal system could be changed in terms of profit, make the hospital
Right.
profit organizations.
Right.
And if we put the profit organizations, the hospitals or medical institutions, they list the stock markets.
Right.
And also bring more investment on the hospital, buying more modernized machines,
Right.
and increase the medical service. Therefore, it results in customer satisfaction,
So,
and they
okay.
bring in more people,
Right.
or they come back afterwards.
So that fundamental change is something that we need eventually. The overall social discourse on this issue, which is a healthcare issue in a large context, itself desires much more improvement in Korea, indeed. So that's a much bigger issue than the tourism here. But I think in our discussion earlier, we have mentioned the so-called, in Korea, what we call broker issue in attracting the patients and so on. What's the overall landscape of the problem here? Some of our viewers joining us from other countries may wonder what this is all about. Dr. Linton?
Well, the commission
Yeah.
or the compensation to the agencies.
Because we are not as good in terms of attracting the patients as effectively, some of the hospitals and doctors rely upon brokers
Right.
to arrange their travels, right? That's their job, right?
Broker is a sort of a negative
Marketers?
word. Agency.
Agencies, okay.
And in the private sector, they're probably charging too much, like up to 30%.
30% of the overall fee?
The whole cost, which I think is too much. But it goes anywhere from 10 to 30%. If somebody's staying in the hospital a long time and running up a big bill, it should be a lesser amount. And the government now is waking up to this and is helping to monitor and regulate some of the extremes going on.
Is government actually dictating the percentages for cases?
They're writing a
Suggested guidelines?
Guidelines that in the private sector it should not be over 30%, and then in private hospitals maybe not more than 20%, and then in university hospitals it should not be over 15%.
What's the use of this guideline? Can patients actually, when they see their cases being violating these guidelines, can they actually file complaints or something?
No, but
They can make a better decision.
right,
Okay.
and it also, there's quality and there's quantity in any country in capitalism.
Right.
And so we have a danger of lowering the quality for quantity, and this is, as we speak, slowly being sorted out.
I see.
And different agencies will survive, different ones will disappear according to the market. But
Is this agency problem particularly about the Chinese, the travelers from particular countries, or is this about overall?
in the Chinese market is the biggest problem.
I see.
Because
Elsewhere it's not as much.
Right.
Like Russia.
Russia is
maybe.
less so, and of course in Abu Dhabi it's government to government.
I
so
see,
we
I see.
we don't have to worry.
So
but
there are alternative ways.
but if the hospitals do better job of promotion,
Yes. Right.
then a lot of agencies actually are cut out.
Right.
Because the patient can cut that fee out and communicate.
Right.
But On the other hand, then the agencies are not taking care of the family members, so the hospitals are not all equipped to take care. So it's a very difficult,
Right.
controversial.
Right.
It depends on how you look at
Right,
it.
cat and mouse, case by case, I
Right,
suppose.
right.
Right. Well, Professor Oh, we have already run out of time, almost. We're about to. From the tourism management perspective, some of the final words on how Korea should improve our competitiveness or prospect of growth of medical tourism in the future. What are some of the suggestions?
Well, despite we have a really good scale of a medical service, the problem we have is only the promotion. As he mentioned earlier, we have a really good techniques, good facilities, including robot surgery, and it's a really good leading edge technology we have. But simply, people, they don't know Korea is well known for medical tourism. Like they remember or they recognize the Thailand or India or Singapore than Korea. So what we have to do is to promote using the credible source. Like it is very important to achieve accountability of our customers. They have to believe the service of Korea. Like Chinese people, they don't know what to do, and they have a lot of questions about Korean medical service. But we have to give some, even though we have a JCI accredited institutions, but also public sectors goes out to Chinese market and to promote. So it builds some credibility from
so
Korean
more proactive
Chinese
promotion in addition and adding more credibility in terms of how we are promoting our services.
Sure.
Dr. Linton, very briefly, key message to
Very
whoever.
simple message. The National Tourist Association and the KIDI, the 보험산업진흥원.
Okay, Korea Investment Insurance.
It's underneath the Ministry of Health.
Right.
They should get together, and government agencies should cooperate, and we should do a lot. We should get the Korean National Tourist Agency to do much more advertising for us. They have the infrastructure. Ministry of Health doesn't have advertising infrastructure.
Right.
So we need to break down the barriers between the ministries and launch a strategic, and I don't know Dr. Park's full name or Dr. Kim's full name, but I want my surgery done by Dr. Park, Dr. Kim, Dr. Lee. I want that guy.
Right.
And fly into Seoul or Busan or wherever, but I got to go to that guy. That's the ultimate end game for us.
The picture is very clear. Those words from Dr. John Linton today and also Professor Ik-geun. I'm sure our viewers from all around the world have learned a lot about this very exciting subject of medical tourism thanks to your wonderful ideas and suggestions here today. And likewise, next time when we talk about important issues for Korea as well as the world, we want to ask you to join again, which will be next week. And until then, this has been Kim Byung-joo. Thank you very much.